This week I'm in the Ford Everest Sport 4-wheel drive, and it sounds and looks like a beast. In fact, we nicknamed it Hank after the blue beast from X-Men, and that just about sums up how much fun we've had this week in this 7-seater. But it competes against other large and popular SUV rivals like the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport, Toyota Prado and Isuzu MU-X. And in this video, I'm going to show you just how this has fared with my little family of 3. There are 4 variants for the Everest range, and our model on test here is the Sport 4-wheel drive, which sits second from the top in the lineup and will cost you $72,490 before on-road costs. That also positions it second from the top compared to its rivals, which all have similar specs and that highly coveted third row for families. The Everest Sport model comes with some lovely features like electric, heated and ventilated front seats, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, built-in sat-nav, as well as a full-size spare wheel. The full specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you need more info. The Everest always looks like it means business because of its big and brutish looking squared off shaping, but the Sport model takes it one step further because it has so many black accents across the car, in the side mirrors, door handles, massive grille and 20-inch alloys. It just really ups the beastie factor. And I love the way this SUV looks, especially in this blue paintwork which is exclusive to the Sport model. The cabin shares the robust shaping of the exterior in the dashboard and the vertical 12-inch multimedia system. I also really love how cool the vents look, but there is still a workhorse vibe in here with the upholstery and trims. Despite being leather accented with the upholstery and trims, there's a strong vinyl feel to the trims themselves. And despite being soft touch points, they look really hard like a plastic grain. That being said, the cabin is very pleasant to be in and everything still feels like a very high quality build. The biggest issue that I've had with the cabin's practicality is just getting in and out of it, because it has a 226mm ground clearance, so I've personally had to use the side steps, but 100% a user issue. Once you get in though, you have heaps of leg, head and elbow room up front. The front seats are a little bit firm and you sit on top of them rather than in them, so you're going to notice that on a longer trip, but I really like how they both have powered lumbar support and those heat and ventilation functions. Individual storage up front is really good because you get 2 glove boxes as well as 4 cup holders, 2 of which are the old school retractable cup holders that you actually get in the dash. Very old school, but super practical. And I also like that you get a sunglasses holder in this too. The charging options are really good throughout the car. The front gets a wireless charging pad, and there's a total of 3 12-volt ports throughout the car. The first 2 rows also get a single USB-A and USB-C port too. The 12-inch touchscreen multimedia system is fairly easy to use once you get used to it, but the positioning is a little bit lower than I've been used to in the past, and it's not positioned well for the driver, so accessing it while on the go can be a little bit annoying, especially since you don't have dedicated buttons for airflow or the seat functions. The wireless Apple CarPlay is a real bonus though, and super easy to connect to. In the middle row, I have plenty of head and legroom for my 168cm height. My son also had a ton of fun climbing in and out of the truck this week, but he did have to use the side steps and handles. So if you have a younger kid, you might have to help them in and out. Amenities are okay in this row, but you don't have any luxury factors back here. But I do like that you have roof-mounted directional air vents as well as fan control. Storage is pretty average for a car of this size, with map pockets, door pockets, as well as a fold-down armrest with retractable cup holders. There are ISOFIX child seat mounts on the outboard seats plus 3 top tethers, and you can definitely get 3 car seats in here, which is fantastic. When you fit a 0 to 4 rearward facing child seat, the front legroom is compromised a little bit, but I still had enough room for my 168cm height. Access to the third row is actually pretty good, even for an adult. But to fit an adult's legs, you do have to push the middle row forward quite a bit, which compromises the legroom for any middle rowers. I would still consider this row suitable only for kids, for long-term use. Amenities in this row are a little bit bare, but I do like that you get directional air vents as well as cup holders back here. And it's a really big bonus for families that you get 2 top tether points back here too, which means that you can fit 2 child seats if needed. When the third row is in use, you get 259 litres of capacity, which was adequate for a small grocery run this week. But when the third row is stored, that jumps up to 898 litres. Because it's such a tall car, the boot lip does sit quite high, which can be annoying if you have to load in heavy items or climb in to fix a top tether point. But other than that, the boot is actually quite user-friendly. There's a small pocket underneath the floor which could house your manual and logbook if you wanted to free up your glove box. And like I mentioned earlier, you get a full-size spare wheel in this and a very handy power tailgate function. The Sport model on test here is the 4-wheel drive variant, which means that it has the 3-litre V6 turbo diesel engine that produces a power output of 184 kilowatts and 600 newton meters of torque. Pretty hefty power, which is good because it has a 3.5-ton braked towing capacity, which means that you can have your weekend adventure pursuits and still haul the family around. Overall, the Everest Sport delivers its power pretty responsively once you're up to speed. So overtaking or keeping your speed consistent on hills is no issue. It's just going to remind you of its size when you have to start moving from a standstill because it's not quick. There's a serious lull from when you accelerate to when you actually shoot forward. So just take a little bit more time when you hit roundabouts, when you have to cross traffic. The steering feels right in the middle of firm and loose, which means that it actually feels quite nimble to maneuver in the city, and that's helped by a very good 11.8 meter turning circle. The ride comfort can feel a little bit truckish at times, not totally unexpected given its tall center of gravity, but there is a consistent vibration through the seats and the suspension can feel a little bit bouncy in corners. Cabin noise is pretty low key most of the time. You do get some fairly high wind noise at higher speeds, but other than that you can chat easily with all 3 rows, which is great. One of the best things about driving this car though is the high seating position and the wide windows, because honestly I feel like my situational awareness this week has been really good, and that is so good to have in a large SUV. Despite being almost 5 meters in length, with the tow bar attached, this is not a hard car to park. You will fill out a space, but you can see everything and you have a really clear 360-degree view camera system. And that small turning circle means that it's not a big car, or at least it doesn't feel like a big car when you're in a tight little car park. The official combined fuel cycle figure is 8.5 litres per 100 kilometres. After doing a fair bit of travel this week, mostly open road driving with a little bit of urban mixed in, my fuel efficiency came down to 7.6 litres, which is fantastic for such a massive car. Having said that though, I did notice on my pure urban trips that figure was closer to the 15 litre mark. So could be a concern if you're mostly an urban dweller because it will be a little bit more thirsty in the city. Based off the combined fuel consumption and the large 80-litre fuel tank, you should see a theoretical driving range of around 941 kilometres, which is great for families who like to do road trips. The Ford Everest Sport has a bunch of safety systems and a maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating from testing done in 2022. It also scored quite highly across all 4 individual assessment criteria, with the child protection score at 93%, which is great. It has 9 airbags, including a front center airbag, and the curtain airbags cover all 3 rows. The full safety features are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you need more info. The Everest comes with a usual warranty term of 5 years and unlimited kilometres. You can also pre-purchase servicing for up to 4 years or 60,000 kilometres for $1,385, or an average of $347 per service, which is pretty good for the class. Servicing intervals are also reasonable at every 12 months or 15,000 kilometres, whichever occurs first. I have really enjoyed driving the Ford Everest Sport 4-wheel drive this week. It's a great looking vehicle, it has the engine specs to support an adventuring family, and it can actually fit a large family. Plus those extra top tethers in that third row really offer some flexibility too, which is great. The ride can be a little bit truckish at times and a little bit thirsty in the city environment, but it has enough to charm my family of 3. So it gets an 8.1 out of 10 from me. My 7-year-old does not want to hand this back and has loved having a blue truck this week. He gives it a 10 out of 10. If you're after more details, check out my full review at carsguide.com.au and I'll see you next week.